So, hi Jennifer, I'm so excited that you are here and that you've agreed to be interviewed for the Love BIPOC channel.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
And I suppose in the true spirit of Love BIPOC, it's about, listening to unheard voices. And because yours is a voice that we haven't really heard in the Three Principles community, I'd like to start off by asking you, how did you come across the principles? What happened?
Well, I know we only have an hour and I could go on and on, but the short version, back in 2016, here in Chicago, I was doing some workshops with some beautiful people from Santa Monica, and they were putting a tape together of youth, inspiring youth to be leaders in the community. And they came to do a presentation at my office. I work for the city of Chicago. And they were the most delightful people I could have ever come across. And Joel Drasner was also part of that group, going and traveling with them in Chicago. So they invited me out to California because I wanted to, one, take a vacation. And I happened to be going out there, and they were like, come and stop, and you can stay with us for a couple of days. And so Joel Drasner is a friend of theirs. He came over for dinner and gave me just a general spiel about the three principles, and he gave me the missing link. Well, I sucked the book down in about 24 hours or less, and I heard something. Something touched me. I didn't quite know what it was, but I was sitting in a Japanese garden on the outskirts of Santa Monica, and I was writing in my journal, I want what this garden is. I want that peace. I want that fullness. I want that calmness. And so after I read The Missing Link and we had a coaching session, I was like, oh, I don't know what this is, but I was deeply touched. And I had gone through a very rough time at my job. I also was the president of the American Indian Center board, and they were going through a tumultuous time, moving from an old building that was beloved, but was this monstrosity that was falling down, to a much smaller, manageable space. And the community, half the community wasn't having it, the other half of the community wanted it. So when I got to Santa Monica, I was in this place of letting go everything else, and I didn't know what the new fresh was, but here was the missing link. Here was Joel Jasner sharing about this insight. So I got home, and about 2 to 3 weeks later, I was riding my bicycle on the lakefront, and all of a sudden this window opened up, and it was like a Venetian window, light breeze moving across, the curtains gently moving, the light shining in on the floor, the reflection of the window. I had the most contented, most beautiful, inner solid feeling I have ever had in my life. It was so profound that my mind could be that deep and go to that rich place with nothing else but just that beautiful feeling. And I remember thinking that lasted for about 2 to 3 days, that incredible, beautiful thinking. All I could think about was, if I had that in me, and if my mind could calm down, everybody else's mind could calm down as well. So it was like another week after that, I started sharing what little nugget I had of the principles with the groups that I come in contact with the city of Chicago. So I am in discrimination with the city. It's a civil rights arm of the city. And we take housing and employment discrimination cases. My unit, I respond to hate crimes and community tensions in the community. I'm a trained mediator, and we mediate between neighbors that have been feuding 5, 10, 15 years. And we do proactive workshops around racism, prejudice, discrimination, bullying, cyberbullying, mediation, anger management, you name it. So the beautiful groups that I have been able to work with over these years and share what little teeny nugget I have learned from the principles has been the most beautiful gift, the gift of receiving the principles, and then the gift of sharing. And just seeing everyday, ordinary people just have a little bit of understanding about their thinking, how they can get caught up, how they're more in control, and that they have their own insight. That has been the greatest gift to me to give back to other folks here. So that's been the beginning of my journey. And I think I traveled to California 4 times that year to a conference in LaConner. I went to a conference in LA, and I went to something else and just met the Pranskys and met, a number of people in the Three Principles community. But what I remembered was there are a few people that look like me, light skin, but I don't see any other folks of color. I mean, not to take anything away from the absolutely beautiful people that I did meet along this journey, but I was like, okay, this is looking familiar. And so when the listening circles came about, and I can't remember who introduced me to it, but I, joined Lila Turner and Christine Heath's listening circles. Oh, because I remember Beverly. I've been hearing about Beverly from Cassie Casey, and I wanted to hear her speak. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know how to find out about her. I was just amazed that she was not prominently featured everywhere I turned. I don't know why I didn't see Beverly, didn't know about Beverly, but had heard about Beverly. And so when the listening tour came, I was just blown away by the beautiful people on the call, and they were sharing the stories that I have been carrying for 50, 60, I just turned 61, so 61 years. So I got to hear my story and other people's experiences, and talk about just feeling the presence, feeling a part of me was, being expressed in them. I can identify, I felt validated, I felt heard, and it was just a natural fit for me. So, leading into the development of BIPOC, beautiful people of Black and Indigenous people of color, the development of that beautiful group, I had to be a part of. And so in our initial conversations where, we were just really hitting on the feeling good, I was really feeling good. And then when it kind of shifted into, we could do a little bit more, and I really want to get our stories out and hear our stories and have, many other people in the global community hearing our stories, I was completely on board and just absolutely found my place as far as being in the Three Principles community, and working on myself being visible, because I'm not one of those to be out there. I'm more behind the scenes and will get the job done. But I've been told, Jennifer, you need to get your mug out there a little bit more and share your experiences with, the violence interrupters, Ceasefire, who are violence interrupters. I've worked with homeless women, domestic violence survivors. I currently do a program at the Juvenile Temporary Detention Center. I've been there for going on 5.5, 6 years. Again, I do my own workshops in all the different communities here in Chicago. The church group, after school groups, I work with a myriad of principals doing bullying, cyberbullying. I train teachers to do peace circles. I'm also a peace circle and restorative justice practitioner, along with just being politically aligned with all of this work. So I come to work, and it is not like I have a job, because I would do this and not get paid for it. I'm lucky because I do get paid, but just to instill more hope in people and help them see where their confidence comes from, and helping build people up instead of, people focusing on tearing each other down, is just a beautiful journey to be on. And I can't do enough about that. So I know I said that was going to be the short version, but it turned into the long version. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Jennifer, thank you so much. I know, like you said, there's so much in there. It was so rich, and we may come back to some of the things that are in there. So that's amazing. But one thing that still stays with me from when you said it quite early on, and even though I was listening to everything else, what stayed with me was the fact that you said the little bit that you had, you took out and shared. And I think that is so encouraging. because a lot of people think they have to go on one of these courses, whether it's an expensive course or whatever. So I suppose what comes to me is, what inspired you to take the bit that you had, and what gave you the confidence to take the bit that you had?
That beautiful feeling, that instant moment when I had that intense, deep within my soul. I don't have to live with anxiety, fear, sadness, frustration. None of that was present. My complete essence of who we are, as I have learned over these 8-9 years, that was present, and that's what was guiding me. I had no idea that was in me. That was like, oh my God, where is that? I want that back. And it was funny. I went, after I had the experience, after 3 days or so, I did go to La Conner for one of their 3-day retreats, and I remember arguing with Linda about, I want that feeling back. I don't want the quagmire of my thinking and all this stress and drama in my own head. Where did it go? And I remember her saying, well, you seem really angry about that. I'm like, yeah, I'm angry about that. I don't want this feeling that I'm in normally. And so that just, I've never been able to shake that feeling, and to know that with just a little bit of guidance, I can help somebody else move to their inner core and that inner being, and that place where we can truly be happy and truly react from that place, feel from that place, move and from that inner place inside of us that's not taught. We don't talk about, we don't share it. I understand from listening to many sit-backs, this is who we are at our essence. And, wow, how many people really get to hear that, let alone experience that? And I'm a natural teacher. I've been teaching ever since I was a little tyke. It blew me away. Just, that is something that I can teach for the rest of my life, and want to keep teaching to the best of my ability, to my experiences. That's really what I would like to keep doing.
Oh, that is so beautiful and so inspirational, because I think that anybody who's out there who's heard something that moves them, who has had an experience, take the little bit that you have and share that, because somebody needs to hear that. Somebody needs to hear that little bit. So that's beautiful. Thank you. The other bit that you said, as I'm speaking to you now, the other bit that you said was about looking around and seeing a few people that looked like you, but not many. Can I ask you why is that important to you?
That's a loaded question. Well, I am African American, and I'm also Native American. My tribal affiliation is Choctaw. And so I have grown up in the other box my entire life, and not being heard, not being seen, lucked out with parents who were just going to do what they needed to do as educators. They wanted to live in certain communities that were not open to people of color. I experienced a lot of verbal racism when I was growing up between 9 and 18. Just horrendous verbal racism from teachers, from kids, from people in the community. And I just remember what a number it did on me. And, I'm an adult now looking back, and, have gone through my healing and whatnot. But the principles, were learning and understanding about the principles, allowed me really move past that, and to really understand that those are thoughts carried through time, that I carry through time, and I can let that go. I do not have to carry that anymore. Even, the healing that I have gone through, that was the icing on the cake, that I no longer have to carry that. And so, having experienced it firsthand, being involved in civil rights, knowing how Black and Brown and the LGBT community is silenced, and how devastating that is. If the 3 principles can help me open that light and see that light for myself, I want to be a part of helping others open up and see that light for themselves on this healing journey. And, in the principles, just beautiful, beautiful people. Don't want to take anything away from the gorgeous people and the seasoned practitioners, the group of 40. that allegedly worked with Sid Banks in the beginning, that's just, it's something that can be for everybody, not just that group of 40, but as that one ripple sets 1,000 stones, sets 1,000 ripples in motion, we're at that third, fourth generation with the growing community, with everybody who has been there for 30, 40 years, and then the person that just came to this yesterday. And there's really something for everybody, but especially given my background for the Black and Brown community and the LGBT community, our voices need to be a part of that narrative as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. So I suppose the question that comes to me is, like you said, QAI plus, Black and Indigenous people of color, the group. What inspired, motivated you to be part of the working party of Love BIPOC?
I know, as you and I were putting these questions together and thinking about our two different groups, the safe space group that likes touchy-feely, as you like to say, and then we have this hard-hitting other core group that's just like, we need to get it done, get on with it, you do this, you do that, and let's try and move this mountain to benefit everybody in this journey. And so I'm definitely one of those, let's move this mountain and, see how we can expose each other's stories in a healing way, but also in an educational way. Hopefully have a platform and a place where people are putting together conferences and seminars that they will think of diversity in the beginning and not at the end. We have talked quite a bit about that. Having more of a presence where people look like you and I in the conferences, which there has been change. I'm very, very appreciative of all the work that has gone into the listening groups and Lila and Christine's work and how we are shaping that and moving that forward. So I am very proud to be a part of this group and this journey and this process.
Fabulous. And it's wonderful to be able to work with you. And like I said, just listening to your background, your heritage, the work that you do. Tell me more about that, the different types, the different ways in which you share the principles as well. I suppose because a lot of the time people can come to the principles and they can see coaching, or they can see running groups. But I'm intrigued to find out and hear the different ways in which you the principles.
Well, the 3 Ps, and for people who are not exposed to the 3 Ps or new, that's kind of like the lingo that we throw around because we know what it means. But if you say mind, thought, and consciousness to people, their eyes glaze over and they look at you like you got a third head. You get the deer in the headlights. So I really, with June Earl, who has been my mentor, who I met my very first visit to LaConner, and I think we've had maybe 500 phone calls and Zoom calls. She and I have enlisted her support because she originally worked with Sid too back in the day. How am I going to break this down for the everyday person and talk about thought in a way that somebody can grasp a little nugget? So I feel like I've been on this journey of how to break this down and to start with thought. Thought come and go. They're like the clouds. Some days you're feeling low and the clouds are covered. Other days you're feeling light and open and the clouds move, just, like your thoughts do. So really trying to use metaphors, which, to be honest, I didn't even know what a metaphor was till I met George Bernstein, who is one of the masters of metaphors, help describe what the indescribable is. And so that's kind of where I have started. I've done several of the domestic violence groups, like at the Chicago Police Departments. They have what are called CAPS, the CAPS departments, community policing. And so they have all kinds of groups that they come in and sponsor different teachers for. So I use the principles and mostly talking about thought. I don't even bring up the principles. I talk from, thought and, we are awake and we're experiencing our lives in the moment. So I find other ways of starting the conversation. I do lots and lots of workshops around bullying and cyberbullying, mediation, conflict resolution. All of those are recognizable titles for people when I'm presenting a workshop, because I'm here at the city. I have to have a recognizable title to talk about whatever it is. But it's really about thought, consciousness, awareness, how we are in control. So it's really, I'm teaching as much as I can about the principles without saying the principles, but still talking about, well, what are the thoughts when you're angry or when somebody is doing something? What is that when you have a strong reaction? How can you let some of those thoughts go, and what replaces it when you let go of the old? And just finding very fun, tangible ways to talk about this that people can resonate with has just been very cool. So, I come in contact with a lot of groups, all kinds of different groups, as I mentioned earlier.
Really. And what I love is, like you said, if you are part of the Three Principles community, you're used to hearing mindful unconsciousness, different states of consciousness, different levels of awareness, where, like you said, the everyday person haven't got a clue. So I love the fact that it's like, I remember Kathy Casey saying you can back the principles into anything. And so you've got this title, you can say whatever, because in understanding the fundamental nature of the principles, you understand that it's everything and all things all the time. So I love that. And like you said, the different groups that you work with in groups, in mediation as well, because like you said, so you mediate. And do you work with people on a one-to-one as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I love, like you said, it's just how malleable, how flexible it can be. And you haven't had to leave work. Like you said, I think Linda Ramos was very much like that. She felt it was an honor that she got to share and teach the principles and get paid to do it. But what I love about that is that you, like some people, they think they have to leave their work in order to share the principle, and you didn't. Done is brought it into your work environment, and
Yeah.
so I love that as well, so that people don't have to abandon their old lives in order to share this. It's a part of the day to day. I love that. I love that. So as we're starting to wind up, not that we're winding up now, but as we start to slowly come towards the end of this interview, because what comes to me, so partly because like, where do you see BIPOC going, but also it's like what do you want to see in the wider Three Principles community when it comes to unheard voices? What do you want to see?
Because of my background with racism and race, and of course George Floyd and all the people that came before George Floyd and all the people that have come after George Floyd, who experienced a similar, all the people that have come after that have experienced the same fate as George Floyd, we have still a lot of healing to do in this country, and not just our country, many, all around the world, Black and Indigenous and the LGBTQI plus community and the non-communities of color have a long way to go in true healing, in true connection with who we are as humans, because that's all the same for everybody. And that's what part of what Sid has shared, with his version. We all have access to that. And until we can really start seeing each other from that place of we all have these gifts, we are going to continue to run into the things that we hear on the news all the time. And so part of me, also being an educator, but I get tired of always being the educator. I like that we have a group that is willing to take on these harder questions, push the envelope, ask challenging questions, bring people in to have, to hear the richness of our experience. Because until some folks, many people, not just in the 3Ps community, but in any community, the blinders have to come off. And when the issues hit home, like the pandemic hit home for everybody, I don't care what your background, what's your, economic status, your, racial identity, religious identity. The pandemic was an equal opportunity across the board. So whatever issues were there before the pandemic, they were definitely highlighted during the pandemic. And so in a sense, with that, we were able to come a little closer together, actually spend time getting to know their family and communities, maybe work on some of those issues of identity and sharing what is similar. But certainly that diversity and the other and the this and the finger pointing, that is there just as strong. So if I can help people break down a little bit more on one side and build up on a little bit more good feeling on the other side, then I can rest in the fact that, I'm trying to do my part with the Love BIPOC group, with other like-minded people that would really like to reshape history and help people feel good about who they are, no matter what they look like, feel like, whatever religious practices, whoever they love. It is all important and valued.
Wow, that is that's really moved me in as much as it's about that. I suppose I hear the love and the passion that you have for that. That's what's moved me. The words were great, but it's the love. And
I was going to go back to that. The other thing that I, enjoy about this is creating that good feeling. Because if somebody feels good in a workshop or in a mediation and they walk away with, they may not even know where it came from, that good feeling speaks volumes. Instead of hating their neighbor, but they had a conversation and they walked away with some calmness or a good feeling, they might have a better chance of not getting back into the old pattern, and just kind of agreeing to disagreeing and move on. So that's the other aspect of the sharing, the little nugget about thought that's accessible to everybody in the moment, anytime that insight can come. So that's what I get excited about sharing. We don't have to live in, just the parameters that we put on our own thinking, and how we keep our own drama going and, all of that.
no, and I remember as you were saying that, what came to me, Elsie, well, I think Elsie said it. It's like there's healing in the feeling.
Yeah.
For my final question, what would you like to say to anybody looking in this direction, the three principles? What would you like to say?
Well, I have something similar to share, a story similar to your story about the woman that had her head down. At the JTDC was one of the, I think, one or two people doing programming, because nobody was doing programming with them. And it was all on Zoom. And it's very hard to engage a group of 12 teenagers in a classroom, let alone on Zoom. So I had one young lady that sat right in front of me, right in front of the camera with her back to me almost the entire time. Didn't say anything, would sit there like this, and she'd listen. And, just like you, I went on and taught the class as if she wasn't there. Occasionally I would engage with her, because I also do an art component with the principles work and the thought work that I do. So over, maybe about 4 or 5 weeks, she started doing some of the art projects, and she kind of turned this way so I can say, the beautiful, drawing or the painting you're doing. And, then she kind of turned with her back. And on the very last class, because we do a check-in and a check-out, and I was asking how people felt, if they could rate from a 1 to 10, how are they feeling about the class? And she turned and looked up at me and did that. I just bust out laughing. So I love moments like that, when they can let down their guard, they can enjoy, they can allow themselves to feel and maybe pick up a little insight or try something new. They don't let their thoughts hold them back to trying something new. And I'm speaking about a couple of the art projects that I do. That is what inspires me to keep me going. I wanted to share that. But can you ask your question again?
Anybody who's looking in this direction, what would your final words be to them? Anybody who's new, anybody who's looking at Love BIPOC, what would you like to?
I can't remember where I heard it along this journey. Maybe it was Sid Banks himself. that said, you know, truth is everywhere. Truth is at the supermarket. Truth is in your family and the community. Truth may be at the library. It may be in a book that you're reading, but find, look, be open to when that insight comes, or find somebody that you have a good feeling in their presence, or you see them behaving in a way that is just in a very gracious and grateful way, or sharing the principles in a way that makes you feel good. Keep looking, keep exploring if this touches you. There's so much out there to explore in your own mind, in your own thinking, but there's many people doing wonderful things, writing about our thoughts, our mind, our consciousness, and just this new paradigm of we can think in a different way. We don't have to respond in the old way. There's more available to us than we might have been taught as a child and as a young adult or an adult, that this really is a beautiful journey. And there's so many beautiful people of color, that are not of color, that are on this journey, that you can learn and listen and experience the principles with. And so I would encourage you just to keep on this journey, keep asking questions, find somebody to ask a whole lot of questions, because there are some people out there that don't mind spending time, you know, helping you think through and helping you figure out how to share it, if that's what your journey is, or if it's just a personal healing journey. There are many people out there willing to listen to you and people that you can learn from.
Jennifer, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your passion and your heart. I love that. So thank you so much. If people want to
Very welcome.
Contact details in the description below so that you can find Jennifer and the work that she's doing.
Thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. And I absolutely love working with you and the Love BIPOC group and developing this next part of the group.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you.